I've been exhausted lately. And not just tired, but like soul tired, you know? Like being weighed down by invisible anchors attached to my ankles, tired. It's easy sometimes to get frustrated with life when things don't move the way we want it to. Or when the steps that we took forward start to feel like standstills. Like we came screeching to a red light right when we thought we were going to catch it. Yeah, I feel like life has a lot of red lights. And for a while, I thought the red lights meant that I was doing something wrong. That maybe God was punishing me, or the universe, or whatever you call it. But it was just like, it was telling me to stop. Don't even try. And then, of course, there's that reoccurring thought of maybe I'd already missed my moment. Was that it? But I don't know, what if that stop's not actually punishment? What if it's more of a protection? Or maybe just a pause so I could catch my breath before that next stretch of road. I'm starting to learn that every every detour, every delay, I mean, even the things that broke me down, I'm starting to feel like, they were really invitations to rest and reflect and realign. I spoke a couple episodes ago about how I was reading the book Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. And without giving you a full book review or hyping it up, but really, I did learn a lot. Um, but I realized that one of the concepts he spoke about really resonated with me. Sometimes we hear those moments of no, and instead of them being red lights, they might actually be yellow lights or not right now. But eventually, every red light turns green again. And sometimes the only reason we're actually even being slowed down in the first place is that we don't crash into something we were never meant to carry. So if you're like me, tired and questioning, maybe even doubting your direction, I just want you to know the red light doesn't mean stop forever. It just means wait for alignment. And when it finally clicks, when it finally turns green, you'll move different. You'll speak different. You'll know that you're not behind. You're on God's time. Tonight's episode is titled Greenlights and God's Timing. And this is Halftime Girl. Now, I know what you're thinking. Tej, what happened to posting the episode last night? Like I said, I'm soul tired lately, y'all. Okay? Between working two jobs, my car, which for some reason just continuously needs fixing, and balancing this podcast, and all the while still trying to function as a human being, I feel like SpongeBob in that episode where him and Patrick have that baby clam, and then every time Patrick says he's leaving for work, when work is really going to watch TV, but every time Patrick leaves for work and SpongeBob's holding the baby clam in one hand, he's ironing with the other one, he's vacuuming, he's cleaning the windows, and then next thing you know, you realize he's got like six hands. Yeah, that's me right now. But it's all right because I know that this is my green light moment. I can actually recognize them now. A few years back, I was filling in at a different location for the company that I work for. And I had initially been asked to fill in for only a week, but a week turned into 3, and then 3 weeks turned into 3 months. Now, at the end of the 3 months, I was to return back to my home location. And at the same time in my personal life, I was going through this huge shift where I was kind of going back and forth on a decision on if I was going to really take on the task of taking care of my childhood home once my family moved out of state. Which, looking back now, was definitely divine timing. I was looking to get out of my apartment at the time, and I had somebody lined up to take it already. So everything just aligned. But I was really concerned on how I was going to be able to handle taking care of everything that comes with having a house, especially when my income wasn't really super consistent at the time. But still, I said yes. I took it on. And I just waited. I realigned myself. I figured out what I wanted to do, what my next goals were. And on my last day at that location, they actually asked me to stay full time at that position. The red light had switched to green. And had that light not switched, I wouldn't have said yes to my house. I wouldn't have been working there long enough to meet some really great people. And my life as I currently know it would be completely different. And I could use any number of players when talking about divine timing. But honestly, the one that comes to mind is Geno Smith, especially after watching that game that he played last night. This man spent 10 years in the league, and he bounced around from the Jets to the Giants for a year, and then the Chargers, but he was continuously benched and always written off. And then Seattle happened, and that was his green light moment. After years of sitting at red, suddenly, everything aligned. He led the Seahawks to the playoffs, and he won Comeback Player of the Year. But of course, he dropped that iconic line, they wrote me off, but I ain't right back. That was alignment. That was patience meeting purpose. And now, he's with the Raiders. New team, new chapter, same poise. Because when you've waited as long as he has, you don't chase validation anymore. You just walk like you belong there. That's what trusting divine timing looks like. It's not about forcing doors open. It's about staying ready. So when they finally do swing wide open, you can walk through without flinching. And yeah, I know, the Raiders lost last night. But honestly, that's what even makes his story more real. Divine timing doesn't mean every game's gonna be a win. It just means that you've finally found peace in showing up prepared, no matter the scoreboard. That's I don't know, that's the thing about timing. We talk about it like it's random, but it's not. It's rhythm. You ever notice how everything in life moves on a rhythm? Football has one, healing has one, even heartbreak has one. When you try to rush a rhythm that's not yours, you end up fumbling plays that were meant to make you score. But when you find your flow and you find that alignment, the game starts to slow down. You start moving with it instead of against it. It's not just patience, it's trust and pace. So maybe the real tool this week isn't about pushing, it's more about pacing. And some of these chapters in your life, you don't even realize they're green lights until later, like years later. And you're kind of going back through your own story. I don't know, like sometimes I like to look back through my journals and see where I was at certain points in time and different moments, and realize that some moments where I thought, life was telling me no actually ended up putting me on a better path than I would have been before it. So, wherever you are right now, just the red light, the yellow light, the green light, just ask yourself this question: am I fighting the rhythm, or am I flowing with it? And that's how you'll know what time it really is. That's how you'll know what light you're at. So I'll leave you with a couple of journal prompts to sit with this week. Here's the first one. What part of my life feels like a red light right now? And what might it be protecting me from? So what part of my life feels like a red light right now? And what might it be protecting me from? And the second one, where in my life am I trying to rush something that actually needs time to grow? Where in my life am I trying to rush something that actually needs time to grow? That's it. No deep dive, no overthinking. Just get honest with yourself. No one's judging you. No one's looking for, or no one's expecting the right answer. Just write what you feel. The answers usually show up when you stop forcing them. And you can't always see it when you're in it, but from where you're standing, it just looks like chaos. The red lights, the reroutes, the plans that fell apart. It feels like God forgot about you. Like he left you sitting there in park while everyone else's life sped past in the fast lane. But what if he didn't forget about you? What if he just needed a few more seconds to clear the intersection? And you know what happens when you run a red light. You run a red light, you end up in wrecks you were never meant to survive, So yeah, the pause hurts and the waiting gets heavy. And then one day, without warning, the light changes. And you feel it before you even see it. It's that subtle lift in your chest. That flutter that almost feels too good to be true. And suddenly, everything that ever felt offbeat starts to make sense. Even the air feels lighter. So if you're still sitting at your red light, don't slam the gas out of frustration. Just sit back, breathe, look around, and see what the stillness is trying to show you. Because the truth is, the light will change. It always does. And McConaughey said it best. This is an actual quote from the book. In time, yesterday's red light leads us to a green light. All destruction eventually leads to construction. All death eventually leads to birth. All pain eventually leads to pleasure. In this life or the next, what goes down will come up. Good, right? So keep catching those green lights. And the red ones, they'll soon just be reflections in your rearview mirror. Now, I've got a few things in the works, of course, for the future of Halftime Girl. So make sure you stay tuned in. Follow the IG at Halftime Girl Podcast. Stay up to date in our halftime huddle at halftimegirl.beehive.com. That's beehive with 2 I's in the hive. And feel free to shoot me a text or send me an email at halftimegirlpodcast@gmail.com for any advice or comments or just thoughts you have. If anything is read on the podcast, just know that names can be changed and kept anonymous. So just let me know. I want to thank you for listening today. If this one resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who needs it. Remember, you never know who's in halftime right alongside you. Till next time, Halftime Girl.